Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Law with Darren. A lot of you guys asked for me to cover family court issues. So family law, the one area of law that just never seems to end, and for reasons that you'll understand very soon. So we'll get right to it. Today, I'm going to cover a case I found. It's called Andrade versus Andrade. Michelle Andrade versus Cristano Andrade. This is a case that was argued by the argued in front of the Rhode Island Supreme Court in 2021, citation 252 A3D 755. So, what happened in this case? Well, I'm going to just read you guys the facts because I think you'll really like seeing what the court did. So, in this case, the parties were married on November 14, 2009, and have one child, a daughter, born in 2007. So at the time of the appeal, she's 14 years old. In July 2015, the wife filed a complaint for divorce alleging irreconcilable differences had arisen between the two, causing an irremediable breakdown of the marriage. The case was heard before a family court judge on September 17, 2015, at which time the complaint for divorce was granted, and the dad was granted all reasonable rights of visitation. And the judge also found that the parties had entered into what's known as a marital property settlement agreement. Okay, but here's what's relevant though, because today I want to talk to you guys about the factors that the court considers when determining who gets to take the kid and what's best for the child. Because at the end of the day, regardless of whatever happens in our lives, the family court cares the most about what's known as the best interest of the child. And the best interest of the child may not be what's in your interest, okay? Especially when you have two different parents who are fighting over a child. So I guess it's always good to see people fighting to want to see their kids in an odd way. So the marital agreement that they signed provided for joint custody of the child with placement to be with the mom and dad to have all reasonable rights of visitation on a schedule of 2 days on, 2 days off, and 3 days per week, alternating weekly. And the dad was to pay child support, a good amount of child support, actually. So I guess everything was going fine with these two people. This happened in September of 2015. Then, fast forward to 2018, and the mom files a petition to relocate with the minor child for a job. It appears as though she works in the insurance industry, and she asked the court to relocate the child. So what does this mean? Why do you need permission? So when you're dealing with a minor child, that child is, wherever that child lives, that family court is going to have jurisdiction over that child, okay? Rhode Island recognizes that. A good chunk of majority of states recognize that. And, if she tried to take the kid and flee to New Jersey and then say, okay, my kid lives in New Jersey now, and then let a New Jersey court try to decide whether or not she can stay in New Jersey, that's not going to fly, because the New Jersey court is going to ask the same question. Where is this kid from? Why are you here? Aren't there orders in place in Rhode Island that prevent you from doing this? And also, if she did that, she'd probably be found in contempt of court, and an arrest warrant would be issued. So you definitely don't want to do that. So she's doing the right thing by filing the complaint with the court, a motion asking for permission to relocate the child. The dad obviously objects to this because he realizes that if his kid goes, 5 hours away to New Jersey, it's going to substantially affect his rights of visitation. And I don't blame him at all for objecting to the motion. The dad also argues that both the wife's family and his family live in Rhode Island. So again, that's another key factor that the court looked at in this case. The court also does something which is to appoint what's known as a guardian ad litem. What a guardian ad litem is, it's an attorney, typically, who was appointed by the court whose sole purpose in the litigation is to represent and advocate for the kid, right? Because you can have a mom who wants to move to New Jersey and a dad who wants to move to Texas, and both places, kind of suck for the kid, right? So especially if the kid, has issues in school and, has a good program set up, maybe they have special needs, and moving the kid, to either state is really not a good idea. So the guardian would actually say, Your Honor, I don't think the kid should move at all. I think that, mom and dad both are thinking about themselves and not thinking about the kid. So in this case, they did hire the guardian ad litem, and ultimately the guardian ad litem actually agrees with the dad that relocating to New Jersey is not a bad idea. And the mom had good reasons. I mean, it looks like, again, according to the court, she works in insurance. She was offered a job with a company called New York Life in White Plains, New York. It would have increased her salary by $16,000. But what the court found, though, was that the wife did not accept the offer, but her current employer matched the offer. So her argument was that she needed to make more money in New Jersey, but ultimately she couldn't take the job, and then her current employer in Rhode Island matches it. So she wasn't really harmed there. So obviously that didn't really go in her favor. So in the end, the wife lost the motion. The family court denied it, and then she appealed to the Supreme Court, because that's the next step. So when you lose in the Rhode Island family court, your next place of appeal in Rhode Island is to go to the Supreme Court. And the Rhode Island Supreme Court, cites the law. And again, they were not there during all of these hearings where the mom and dad gave testimony, and they were cross-examined by each other's attorneys, right, to kind of get through all the sales pitch stuff and jargon and get to the real issues here. And all the Supreme Court has is the transcripts, but they weren't there. And the Supreme Court doesn't like to disturb the findings of these trial judges where, the action is really happening. Specifically, the Supreme Court, and this for those of you who are kind of nerdy and want to know, the standard of review is this. It says, on review, this court, the Rhode Island Supreme Court, will not disturb the findings of fact made by a justice of the family court with respect to the issue of custody and the best interest of the child, unless the hearing justice abused his or her discretion in making such findings. That's a very, very high standard. You have to argue that the judge abused their discretion. Again, that's tough. So you can't just say that I didn't like the way it came out, because that's not going to work, right? I didn't like the findings. Again, you have to argue that they abused it. So I'll try to find some cases in the future of where a judge did abuse their discretion. A lot of times when we do find it, it is egregious, and often it will lead to the judge being reviewed by the judiciary for, essentially misconduct. Rhode Island Supreme Court then goes on to state that it is the trial justice who is in the best position to determine what factors regarding relocation may be relevant on a case-by-case basis, and his or her discretion in this regard should not be unduly constrained. And they say, we will affirm the trial justice's award concerning custody in the best interest of the child unless his or her, quote, factual findings, quote, overlooked or misconceived material evidence or were clearly wrong. So the Rhode Island Supreme Court looked at what the trial judge, the family court judge, did in this case and just didn't find that there was any abuse. They didn't find that the trial judge misread the evidence or, unfairly treated the mom in this case. And they also found that the trial judge applied a lot of the factors that go into approving a motion for relocation. Some of those factors being, again, the nature, quality, extent of involvement, and duration of the child's relationship with the parent proposing to relocate, and with the non-relocating parent. That's one factor that the court looks into that the family court judge applied. Number two, the reasonable likelihood that the relocation will enhance the general quality of life for both the child and the parent seeking the relocation. Okay. Number three, the probable impact that the relocation will have on the child's physical, educational, and emotional development. Number four, the feasibility of preserving the relationship between the non-relocating parent and child through suitable visitation arrangements, considering the logistics and financial circumstances of the parties. Number five, the existence of extended family or other support systems available to the child in both locations. Number 6, each parent's reasons for seeking or opposing the relocation. Number 7. Step 7 goes into cases of international relocation, which isn't relevant here. So the court looks at these factors, and these factors are from a case, another case called Dupre, and the Rhode Island Supreme Court in this case found that the judge at the family court applied these factors, and also it didn't help the mom when the guardian ad litem came in and basically agreed with the dad opposing the relocation. So if you're going through a custody battle, which again doesn't really end until the kid's 18, even when the divorce is over, these are, it's not as, you don't always get what you want. I don't know these two people, but it appears as though, what we need to take from this case is that when it comes to the family court, when it comes to children, the court only cares about the kids, which again, they're the ones who are getting dragged around here, okay? So regardless of what you want, you better be able to prove that whatever you want in life is going to basically severely help or substantially help your kid. Because if you want to uproot a kid, it is not that simple, and you might have to really go through a couple hoops to prove that it is, in fact, in the best interest of the child. So, a longer episode, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd be more than happy to look up some more topics for you guys. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. Respond or put some comments in the page. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. Take care, and goodbye.